Today on Community Connections, I have Andrea Phox, who's going to talk about Shine, 100 Women of Long Branch. Thank you for coming over. You are the head, you run your own photography business in Long Branch, and you came up with the idea in conjunction with the library of doing Shine, 100 Women of Long Branch. So
Yes.
tell us what it is.
I love the Long Branch Public Library because it's one of the most accepting, embracing diversity environments in Long Branch. Anybody can go there. There's lots of resources. I've taught there, so I was done with a class there, and Lisa Kelly, who runs the community room and the outreach center, asked me if I wanted to have a show in 2016, and I said sure, and she said, you know, we're having a anniversary, 100th anniversary. So if you maybe can come up with a theme that goes along with that, that would be really cool. And I said, oh, okay, let me think about that. So I went out to my car, got in the car, I got out of the car, I went back in the library, and I said, okay, I have a theme.
And that took how long?
It was like 7 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
I wasn't long at all. And I said 100 women, and we both kind of went, of Long Branch, and it was like kind of kismet, it was born. And I wrote up a thing, brought it to the board. They were like thrilled, and then we began. I began immediately choosing women and photographing women in Long Branch who either live or work in Long Branch and over 18. Those were the basic guidelines, but of course—
Why over 18? Is there some sort of rule you didn't want to involve parents in permission slips?
I just felt that it had to stop somewhere.
Okay.
Because they were like, here's my 3-year-old daughter, you know,
had to
which
define your
I had to
field somehow.
stop somewhere. And I didn't want to just have people who live in Long Branch, because there's a lot of people who do a lot of great things in Long Branch who don't live in Long Branch, but they work in Long Branch. And so those were my very general guidelines.
Okay.
But really there was a deeper thing.
A deeper thing?
A deeper thing.
What was the deeper thing?
Well, Long Branch is amazing because it's diverse. Okay, if you look around Long Branch, Ocean Township, I mean, they're great towns, but the diversity in Long Branch is clear. We have all kinds of people here, all levels of economic positions, all kinds of stuff. So I knew that over 18, live or work in Long Branch was fine, but then I really knew that I had to reach out and find the diversity and be very demographically responsible is what I've come to call it.
Okay. How hard was that?
Yeah, well, it took 16 months. It was really hard, not necessarily finding the women. There were lots of women, but it was very odd to go to someone and say, hi, you know, I'm doing this show called Shine, 100 Women of Long Branch. Would you like to be in it? Many women were like, what? Because it's just kind of an oddball thing.
Okay. Did anybody actually say, no, not interested?
Yes. And I had lots of long discussions with those women, and then they opted for several opted for no.
How hard was it to find the 100?
Well, it was interesting because there was women who pursued me. They wanted to be in the show. They were very clear that this was the place for them. And I didn't know these women, so I had to like kind of interview them. I had people Facebooking me and emailing me with nominations. I nominate so-and-so, or I had people give me lists that were very helpful, just lists of people, because I don't know everybody in Long Branch. Though now I know 100 more people in Long Branch.
How many of them did you know before you started?
Very few.
So you went around and you took a couple thousand pictures? I'm gonna guess?
17,000.
170 of each one.
Snow.
170 times 100.
Yeah, maybe about
I'm just
between
doing the math.
between 100 and some people I had to shoot more because we were so some people like to play. They would, like to do the standard portrait and then we could do another setup. Some people I spent hours with, some people I spent 40 minutes with. It depended really, it was the relationship that we would develop through taking the photographs, because the actual process of taking the photographs was intrinsic to how the portrait came out.
What kind of feels did you get in terms of what these people did in town? Give us some examples.
Well, we've got like one of my favorites, and they're all my favorite. So, but one of my favorite beauty salon owners, because I only have one, is Alicia Baker. She has Ultimate Impressions Beauty Salon on Broadway at Fifth Avenue.
Okay.
And we had so much fun in her shop. And she's had businesses all over Long Branch for years. I didn't know that until we were interviewed for the Asbury Park Press together. So she was fantastic, and I got to know her and who she is, and she was just perfect.
You knew her before? How'd you give her
Margaret Walker.
Let's back
How I
up.
found her?
Yeah.
Margaret Walker, who's, do you know Margaret Walker?
I don't know that I do.
She's a letter carrier.
Okay.
Is that what you would, I think that's not
Postal
quite right.
worker.
Yeah, she's a postal worker. She's been stomping the beat of Ocean Avenue down by Pier Village for like 30 years. She's in the show.
Okay.
And after I photographed her, she said, you really have to photograph my friend Alicia Baker. And I said, okay, well, you call. Because I've learned by about woman 30 that if someone introduced the idea before I got there, they were a little more warmed up, because really I was out of left field.
When you said, hey, I'm coming,
I'm doing this show called Shine, 100 Women of Long Branch. And they'd be like, okay.
All right.
And they were like, many women were suspicious, some women were very excited.
Where did you go? Did you go to their, I'm going to guess that the answer is many different places.
Yes.
It sounds like you did Miss Baker at her shop.
We did.
And that went well?
That was fantastic. I mean, we got some great stuff. We had a blast. And part of, and I'll just say, now we're talking about what it was like, part of photographing the women in this show, one of my intentions, and it became an intention after I started shooting, because what I realized is, and you probably already know this, you probably could have told me, women really don't like to have their photographs taken.
I couldn't have told you that.
They are, it's like a traumatic experience, And so I realized.
Different than men.
Oh, yes.
But you've taken pictures you've been a photographer your entire adult life. You didn't,
But people come to me for the photographs. This is so different.
Okay.
They come to me, they say, hi, I need a photograph for my blank, family, business, whatever. And I say, okay, great. And then they say, well, it's got to be in a suit, or we're going to do it at the beach. So they're already mentally prepared, even though they might say, I really hate having my photograph taken because I never look good, or whatever they say.
And do you then tell them, don't worry, I'm going to make you look good?
Don't worry, I'm a master photographer. That is what I do. That is what I do.
And they get happy and relaxed, and it works well?
After they get the pictures, they're usually happy and relaxed. But while we're doing it, I have to relax them. I'm kind of like a psychologist / photographer.
So you did this 100 times?
I did it 100 times, yeah. I did 100 portraits. And many of the women, Adam, were nervous, very nervous about the situation, found something about themselves that they weren't pleased with, and often mention that element to me.
Do you use Photoshop? Do you go?
I do use Photoshop, absolutely. Do I alter the women?
That was kind of what I was asking.
No, but Photoshop is like a dark room now. You can't do a photograph and not use Photoshop.
Does that mean you make anybody, man or woman, look thinner, younger, taller, different?
Well, I can.
Is that cheating?
Definitely not. But I didn't.
Okay.
In this instance, no, really what I use Photoshop for, I actually use Lightroom more, is controlling the light and finding out, you know, where the subject is, making sure they're the brightest thing in the frame, maybe bringing down some light in the background, just kind of balancing things out, making sure there's light in the eyes. I always brought a flash with me to put a little light in the eyes. That's essential.
Speaking, there was no film involved. Everything's digital now.
Yes, I was a film person for 25 years, and I'm happy to tell you that I'm digital.
100%?
150%.
So everything that was done in this project is all digital?
Absolutely.
Do all these women now have a framed picture that is now going to be up in the exhibit?
Yes.
So
I thought of their own, not
their
yet. Yes, it's not going to be framed, as you might remember.
There was a cost involved, I do remember.
Yes. I'm not framing the photographs. I'm actually hanging the photographs on clothesline with clothespins.
Why?
Well, it's economical, number one.
That's always a good reason.
Number two, I'm making a reference to women's traditional work.
Okay. And
There is
clothes on
no-
clotheslines is traditional women's work?
No, but putting clothes on clotheslines has often been traditionally women's work.
A while ago, at least, you might say that.
And in some cultures still.
Okay. What kind of fields, professional fields? I mean, you mentioned mail carrier, you mentioned beauty shop owner.
Teachers, principals, video directors, lawyers, moms, volunteers. I'm going down the list in my head.
Council people?
Council people, not many. I mean, I did choose some council people and some school board people, but again, I didn't want to keep the show in a certain demographic light. I wanted to, one of the intentions of the show, one of the main intentions of the show, Adam, is to bring together this diverse group of people in a context that they would never be together in. So the show is a context, a conceptual context, unlike any other. And I'm doing it to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the library and also to celebrate Long Branch and its diversity. So we're, you know, having a big party at McClune's after the opening on November 3rd to have an opportunity for these women to all intermingle, because some of them might never cross, or maybe one's the cash register person and one's buying the groceries. They've maybe never really talked. So we're it's just a way. Photography is a social tool.
Okay.
And that's exactly how I'm using it. Well, I'm manipulating, I'm creating an opportunity for people to get together under the auspices of a photographic exhibition, rather than like having a party or a networking meeting or a work employee meeting. You know, it's so different.
Will all 100 women show up at the opening? Most?
No, there are some women like Giovanna Avigliano who will not show up because she just doesn't have the means getting there and getting back, and it's just outside of her purview.
Okay.
But everybody knows her, so she's kind of already in the mix.
How, now the opening, it's going to be at the library starting when?
November 3rd at 5:30, the doors will open and the show will be up. And the library's open that night until 7:30, and then right after that, there's a party at McClune's, and that is a price to get in there, but it's all going to charity. We're going to give the money to the library, and we're going to give the money to 180 Turning Lives Around. So we're going to split whatever's over and above the cost of people coming into McClune's. And we're going to have a silent auction for a big Long Branch basket.
Okay. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back for the second half.
Your seat cushion can be used to grant wishes.
Who said that? Hello?
Really can, you know.
You talking to me?
Sure am. Because the airline miles you earn and donate to Make-A-Wish can help send thousands of kids on their wish trips. So donate to Make-A-Wish today.
You really should, you know. You really should.
And give wishes wings, because wishes work wonders.
We're back with the second half of the show with Andrea Phox, talking about Shine, 100 Women of Long Branch, soon to be released photographic exhibit. Where'd the name come from, Shine?
So the name, it just popped into my head. I think I've been thinking this word for a long time, but it is my intention with every photograph that I take that I bring out the illumination in each subject. Not just these 100 women, but as a photographer. Photography is light, really to get someone to bring out their inner selves and to show who they are and to be bright and light and real is to have them shine.
So that's the name. I would imagine, like anything else, it was a little bit more challenging with some of the women than others. What were your most unusual stories? Without embarrassing anybody.
No, yeah. Well, I will say that in general, if I were to make a generalization, that women of the older generation were more suspicious of the whole venture.
How old is the older generation? I'm not as young as I used to be.
70s and up.
Okay.
And also, and not to sound in any way racially weird, but also me being a white Jewish woman going into a home of an ethnic woman and saying, hey, you want to be in my show, Shine 100 Women of Long Branch, often was like something that took a little generating.
But that's a Long Branch experience.
Okay.
Well, isn't it? I mean, you've got a child in the Long Branch public school system. My kids went through it. We run into people who come from completely different
Absolutely.
backgrounds every day. What you like about Long Branch?
Absolutely. And the challenge, you know, I would sit with these women and I would explain, and many of them were great. And they said, okay, great, I'll do it. And several were more like, you know, I'm more fly under the radar. And I said, okay, because really the show is not about one woman, it's about 100 women who represent a larger population of women.
Now, there's no question that if you say any group in Long Branch, women, men, we're talking the cultural diversity and the economic diversity. How diverse is your show? You said you were trying to get it to represent Long Branch.
I would say that 50% of the women in my show are non-white.
50% therefore are white? Different ethnicities even there, though.
Inside that 50% is every ethnicity that I could cajole into being in the show.
What was your favorite?
My favorite experience?
Yeah, with the show.
Well, I had many, but one of my most moving experiences, if we want to call it favorite, was when I photographed Susan Sandless of Shore House.
Okay.
Tell
people a little bit what Shore House is.
Shore House is amazing. Shore House is on 5th and Broadway.
In the Garfield Grant Building.
On the 4th floor, and what they do is they have a service for anyone who needs help, who might be impaired, any kind of mental impairment. And they help them fill out applications and college things and just homework and just everything, whatever they need. And I brought a whole bunch of clothes over there last week, but it's an amazing, amazing place. I had no idea it was here, and I found Susan Sandless from someone I went to high school with.
She is the executive director there?
She is the executive director there. So she heard from my girlfriend from high school, who also runs another charity in Red Bank, and I got right in. She was like, okay, sure, come on. And we had 2 hours of amazing, like we didn't take as many photographs as we did talk. And when she told me her story and how she came to opening Shore House, which is, I guess, a franchise, there are other Shore Houses in the country, because her daughter had issues and that she dealt with. I was so moved by her. I literally, for days, I just burst into tears. And she was her commitment and who she is who she is. And it's just mind-blowing. I mean, I have more stories like that.
Tell me another one then.
Fatin Al-Khalil, do you know her?
No.
Fatin Al-Khalil came here during the takeover of Kuwait many, many years ago with
In
her.
the early 1900s?
No.
1990s, I
Yes. With her baby son in her arms and her husband, and they landed in Long Branch, which is like, how does that happen? But that's where they landed. I think they moved away and came back to Long Branch. And now she works at the Wells Fargo. She's one of the head financial people.
Oh, I've met, yes.
Fatin Al-Khalil. So when I met her
Where'd you take her picture?
in front of Wells Bank, in front of Wells Fargo Bank.
The one in West End?
The one across the street from the windmill, yeah.
Okay.
And she just, her story just, you know, mind-blowing. I mean, we had such a nice time, and I just walked away from that, and I just couldn't stop thinking about what it must be like to come to Long Branch from Kuwait and make a whole life here.
Is there any, are there any captions to these pictures?
Yes,
Is there like
thank
a
you for it.
paragraph or?
Yes. So each picture has a number, and the number is on the picture, and there's no name on the picture. And then my graphic artist, Linda McLaughlin, and I designed a map that you will unfold with the number, and each woman wrote her own biography. We gave them just a small amount of space. It wasn't a 10-page biography.
100 words?
No, actually,
than that.
400 characters, including spaces.
3 times Twitter.
3 times Twitter. And some gave bullet point. Everybody's bio is very different. Some are very personal, some are all business. I mean, so it goes with the woman. I mean, you just, it's perfect. And our map is done, and it's being printed. Hatteras Printing donated the printing for us. I mean, we've been really fortunate.
Who else, now these things cost money.
Mm-hmm.
Who else helped you out?
Pure Village gave us $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
That
so
was
they're
very-
presenting. So when you see the invitation or you see any of the material on it, say Pure Village presents Shine 100 Women of Long Branch. The project just got way bigger than my art exhibit, you know, it just blew up.
So it's going to be at the library. 100 pictures sounds to me like it will do more than fill up the community room.
Yeah, it's going to be a little challenging to hang it. I'm wondering what it's going to look like.
Have you figured out how yet and where you're going to go?
I've been there a few times. Right now I'm hoping there's a paint job.
In the community room. It's being painted
I hope
now?
so.
Okay, I have nothing to do with
Yeah,
that.
no, I know. They're trying, I think.
Are any of the pictures, are there 100 separate pictures of 100 people, or are there some where there's a double up or 3 or 2?
There's a couple of pictures where there's someone else in the picture with that person, but it generally has to do with who they are.
Okay. Now, I've known you for a while. I mean, my daughter, you were taking pictures on the beach, and Amy wanted to be a photographer, and she worked with you that summer. But you've been a professional photographer. That's almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah, I've had my company here for
Here being Long
15
Branch.
years. Before that, I worked in the film business for 25 years as a camera assistant in the movie business, mostly for Steadicam. I was a focus puller.
You were a
Focus puller.
What does that mean?
I was the chief technician on the film set with the camera. So I was responsible for film into the camera, film speed, focal length of the lens, f-stop, flares, filters, and mounting the camera wherever it needed to go.
And then, were you already a photographer by then?
I was never a photographer, I was a painter.
So when you went to college,
I have a painting degree and a minor in film.
how did that evolve into photography? I can see a relation, but how did you get there?
Well, you know, I think I'm an artist.
You think you are?
I think I'm an artist. I'm an artist. Yeah, that's okay. I can say that. I'm an artist, and I probably could make art out of paper bags. Actually, I have. So medium that I work with is just a tool. So I have traveled through many medium to make a message.
And so you ended up with, is that your final stop then, photography, or you're going to move on to something else?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think it could be the final stop, but how I take photographs is not the final stop. I'm always pushing that. The technology, push, push, push.
No,
I'm teaching now. I'm going to Cuba in January.
Ooh.
Yes, I'm taking a group, me and my mentor, Tony Sweet. He teaches all over the world. We're going to Cuba and with 10 people, and I'll be there for 17 days, and then my family's coming to meet me, and I'll stay another while, and I'm going to really map it out, and then I'd like to go back to Cuba with a group on my own one day.
Fair for me to assume you've never been to Cuba?
No.
I would think that would be fascinating.
I'm so excited.
And where in Cuba are you going to go?
We're going to go to Havana, but we're going to shoot a lot in old Havana, and then we're going to go to Trinidad, which is, so you come into Havana, it's up at this point of Cuba, and then Trinidad is at the, where Cuba kind of goes like that. And Trinidad, Cuba.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little town on the beach. It's not so little, I don't think. And then like Guantanamo Bay is down at this end.
How did that all come about?
Well, Tony has been going to Cuba for about 7 or 8 years, and his wife usually works with him, but she doesn't go to Cuba with him. And Tony and I have been friends, and he's been a mentor to me, and I've been shooting with him on and off for about 7 years. And he just said, "Do you want to go to Cuba and help me out?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to." And he said, "I'll pay you." And I said, "Great."
That even makes it better.
Great, yeah.
And Lance and Sarah are going to meet you there?
I'm gonna have them come and meet me. Yeah, it's some chance of a lifetime. I mean, I don't know if I'll go back. I'd like to. I'd like to be able to bring a group of people.
It's only
back.
been open to Americans for, I don't remember exactly when Obama decided.
Photographers have been going there for a long time, bringing groups.
Some fishermen have been going, and
yeah.
So that should really be interesting.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
And when will that will be January?
January 7th, I leave.
Okay. But your business, you've got about 30 seconds. Plug your business. You're not a wedding photographer.
No, I'm a
You're different.
portrait photographer, and I'm also a commercial photographer. I do large groups. I'm excellent at large groups. I do them at the beach, sunset, morning. I'm really great at posing large groups. Everybody relaxes. I do a lot of commercial stuff in buildings, doctors' offices. I'm a generalist,
Okay.
so I can do anything.
And everybody will get to see. Everybody who wants to will get to see 100 pictures. They'll be up to the library for a while?
2 months.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming over.
Thank you for having me.